Good morning and welcome to the Null channel. So, for any of you not familiar with this Monday morning, I was going to say festive occasion. No. Monday mornings we do news. Now, my whole channel is around trying to make you the best you possible, help you get that better job, help you level up your own ability for fun or for for work. And part of that is staying up to date on the latest trends and understanding what's moving on. And so while the rest of my channel is more long form educational content to help power you up, this is a time where we get to hang out and we get to talk about the trends that are happening as we speak. So if that sounds fun for you, if you're wanting to be a part of this community, go ahead and join us, and it's a lot of fun. We have a pretty fun Discord with quite a few people who comment regularly, so go ahead and join that if you'd like to hang out and talk tech. Yeah. So, also, if you're new, the following format is pretty much what we hold to. We talk a little bit about security, we talk a little bit about clouds, we talk a little bit about Kubernetes. It's starting to trend that we talk a little bit about blockchain, and then we talk about some blogs and some things that we've seen going on in the industry. And then we wrap up with a selection of open source projects. A lot of the times I'm picking these open source projects from conversations we're having in Discord or things that come up. So yeah, definitely worth sticking around. I've been rated the #1 underrated news. I don't know. How can you be rated most underrated? Because that seems like you're being rated pretty well if you were rated most underrated. It seems like getting that rating means you aren't underrated. All right, so today we have some interesting things to talk about. Everything from Kelsey Hightower. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he's pretty prolific character in the Kubernetes and really cloud world. To not a great week for security for Microsoft. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I have security wise is around Microsoft. And then the clouds were fairly calm. Nothing groundbreaking that I saw there, and a few open source projects. So there's nothing else from you all. Let's jump into this. So our first bit of news was this: a new Windows search 0-day added to Microsoft Protocol Nightmare. Microsoft has had a little bit of issues. Yeah, we'll just say of issues. So a new Windows 0-day vulnerability can be used to automatically open a search window containing remotely hosted malware executed simply by launching a Word document. This is nothing new. Macros in Windows documents, like in the Office suite, have always been super powerful. And with that power comes great responsibility that we're going to Spider-Man it up here. So yeah, it's kind of status quo. Now, part of this is a URI hack for the Microsoft search. So this kind of is a macro used to leverage something else in Windows that's vulnerable. So yeah, yep. This was interesting on my part. The Xloader botnet uses probability theory to hide its servers. So I always get really interested in the nerdy math behind a lot of these. This is like what's really interesting to me. When we do our hacking streams, I would say like roughly once every 6 weeks. And, that's a great time to learn and to make fun of me if you want to come join. I'm not very good at hacking, but what I really love doing is thinking through these things, like how would code hide itself, or things like that. So anyways, that's what this is about, and how it's hiding itself. So if you're interested in that type of things, I would give it a read. Probability theory is I guess is a very generic term for a large group, but how they took probability theory, or a subset of probability theory, to help hide its servers is pretty interesting. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so this wasn't great. A lot of people use Confluence and Jira. Lots of people. It's kind of the standard. I would think it's the standard. Every place that I've worked has used it. So I'm going to say it's the standard. That, or I've just oddly gotten the same thing at a lot of, so I'm pretty sure it's the standard. This has been a very bad year for Confluence, for Atlassian. Just what, 2 weeks ago, we ended the month-long outage of several hundred customers. Remember, a customer usually has a lot of people on it. A customer is a business. So when you're talking about 200 customers, it's a lot of people out of Jira. And it was literally like a month-long outage. Completely mind-boggling. Completely. And to follow that up, this is a pretty severe vulnerability. So anyways, yeah, sorry, I don't know why vulnerability was a hard word for me to come up with. So anyways, you can read about it. I actually liked Rapid7's explanation of it a little bit better. So Confluence's wasn't that great. You can go and read it. Rapid7 made it, just clicked with me how they explained it. Not saying Confluence did a bad job. Rapid7 just really clicked with me, and I liked how they explained it and all the code that this is what really, really sets it apart. When you go into one of these and you go through and they're like, yeah, look, you can pick apart the headers of the HTTP field and you can see this, and then you can go, look at, this public class, and that's pretty fantastic. This is a pretty fantastic explanation and breakdown. So yeah, if you're interested in those types of vulnerabilities, how they're found, and how they influence things, read these. That's how I've learned most of my hacking, even though I don't really do a whole lot of it. It's just understanding these types of things and what makes software vulnerable. Last thing I threw in security, because I didn't really know where else to put it, was Taiwan restricts Russia's Belarus to CPUs under 25 megahertz. I found it funny, but 25 megahertz. Are there CPUs? I'm sure that there's industrial components that operate at a very low frequency, but even then, 25 megahertz is we're not talking about gigahertz. We're talking about megahertz. I mean, hundreds of megahertz, maybe. I don't know. 25 megahertz seems very, very, very small. There's actually a bunch of other limitations that they have. So they can't have performance over 5 gigaflops, which I guess the Sony PlayStation 2 had more than that. All of these seem less restrictive. It's restricted to 32 bits, 144 pins. I'm not sure. 144 pins doesn't seem real restrictive. I guess for a modern CPU that would be real restrictive, but not real restrictive for most chips. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm talking about my Raspberry Pi chips, and I'm yeah, they all have under 144 pins. Now they still all operate at higher than 25 megahertz, but all right. So that was it for security. We can now talk a little bit about cloud news. If nobody else from the community has a security thing. Let me see. I'm just checking the Discord news channel. Some people post stuff in that when they see something that they think is interesting enough to be on the news, and I usually host it here. So if you do find something through the week and would like to make sure everybody else is aware of it, make sure to throw out that news section. One tiny bit of housekeeping for today. This will be the last time that I leave this video up and out there. Now, last week I forgot to hit the record button. It's a new paradigm for me to actually record so that I can make some null bytes out of it. But this is the last week that this will be up for any amount of time. After this, the video will always just cut, and it will be unlisted, so it will still be there. You'll just have to go to the news playlist. I have a playlist that has all of these news sections. You'll have to go to that news section to find this. So bookmark that if you like these. So you'll either need to join live or watch it from there. That being said, I also have a null bytes secondary channel where I'm making a few small bytes of this. I'm not covering everything, just taking some small sections of it and posting it there. So if you're wanting just that's more for helping people see visibility. So that's really what that's for. I'm not sure if that's working. We'll see if it works. I might stop in a month if it's not working. It's something I'm trying. The other thing that you can do is you can help share the channel. If you like it, if you want to see more people join, yeah, you can share it. Let's jump into cloud news. We'll start with GCP. I don't feel like I start with GCP often. So we'll start with GCP, and we'll move on from there. All right, so GCP had a couple things going for it here. We're going to talk about Google Cloud Deploy. Support for scaffold version 137 has been updated, and it is now the default. The 137.2 is now the default. Google Cloud made it easier to compare cost of modernization options. So like the lift and shift, if you guys don't know what the lift and shift is, they did a fairly decent job here of explaining that. If you guys don't know what scaffold is, it's Google's CI system for GCP. Yeah, those were like the big things. I don't know. I don't use scaffold a whole lot, so I don't know if I'm not sure what the big deals in this release version. If you're using it, I recommend you check it out. 138 is out as well, so I know that the default has been updated to 137.2, but 138 is also out, so you could select that since it's released. And yeah, so check that out. So if that's you, again, it's not me. I just like to keep you guys up on this. All right, and yeah, that's roughly it for GCP. I didn't see anything else major. There was a few things. We can talk about Google's work, and we talked last week about that, where I felt like there was a lot of turmoil. I found some articles on that turmoil inside of GCP because, you know, they're always doing really well from an outsider's perspective, but they always have this great deal of number of people leaving, and I've never understood why, and I might be starting to form an opinion on why there. All right, Amazon EMR Serverless is now generally available. So if you were looking at using EMR Serverless, it's now generally available. What does generally available mean versus like a public beta? Well, generally when they go to general availability, they have things like SLAs. So they give you a certain number of nines. Remember, AWS's SLAs are per service. So you can't just say, oh, it's a 4.9 SLA. AWS is a 5.9 or a 6.9. They have, I think, 5.5 or 6 nines for S3 storage, but they only have 3.5 nines for their EKS. So you have to do it per service. But when something goes generally available, that's what it generally means. Usually they also expand it when it goes generally available. They do more regions. They expand the regions. So Amazon EMR serverless is generally available in US East, US West, Asia Pacific, and Ireland. So yeah, you can read more about that if you like, and are looking at using that. Amazon Route 3 announces IP-based routing for DNS queries. So this is interesting. I'm not sure how useful this is. I'm trying to think, okay, so if I was prototyping something, I feel like I would use this. I guess I don't do a whole lot of geolocation routing. That's just not something I've been a part of. So I think that possibly geolocation stuff plus IoT. Maybe this would be a bigger deal too, and thus I'm just not quite sure how I specifically would use it as my current rules and what I commonly do. But it's adding features to Route 53, so cool. ECS simplifies capacity provider integration with auto scaling groups, so it got a little bit better. So if you're using ECS, things got a little simpler, and cluster auto scaling is better. Cool. Moving on. Azure, general availability of storage optimized Azure VMs deliver high performance for data analytics. Okay, so yeah, I think that honestly, this is where I would say AWS has the best, and Azure is the runner-up, and GCP is absolutely the worst. Local NVMe storage, I'm not actually sold that GCP has local NVMe storage. I know there's a lot of people out there that will disagree with me that says, oh, it is local. I don't think it is. They allow you to attach how much ever you want. What, do they have people running around the data center that says, oh, server 362 wants these drives attached, and they run over there with NVMe drives and shove them in the slots? I don't think so. I don't think so. Generally, when you get attached storage, that's what comes on the machine. So I don't think GCP has actually locally attached NVMe. They have NVMe drives over some fiber optic plane. I'm sure that they have that. They're selling you NVMe drives, and I'm sure that they're NVMe drives. I just don't think they're locally attached, and maybe I should go work to prove that. I feel like that's a lot of work to prove. Basically, you just have to watch for latency, because I feel like I've seen a lot of hiccups in latency for their locally attached drives. And this is why I put them for third, because I don't think that their storage solution is very good. And Azure is really starting to kick it up with these AMD EPYC servers with a lot of local NVMe storage. So this is pretty cool, especially if you're looking to run a database in the clouds. You need this. If you want any type of performance, you can go to MongoDB and get MongoDB Atlas. And now I have to preface, I'm a little biased about databases, especially NoSQL databases. Actually, I'm biased about, I think Postgres is probably the best SQL, so I'm biased there too. NoSQL, I'm biased. I'll throw that out there. But if you want slow storage, use something that doesn't use NVMe storage. Use MongoDB Atlas with backed by S3 or EBS volumes. It's fine. It's dirt cheap, and it's crappy, but it's dirt cheap. So go ahead and use it. But if you're actually wanting to scale and have good performance and have fast reads and writes, you gotta have this Nvme storage, period. So anyways, I'm really excited to see Azure actually making an effort on it and pushing that, because I feel like really you only had one option. If you really wanted it done well, you had AWS. That's what it's felt like. And so I'm glad to see there's a little bit more competition in that realm. All right. Conversational language understanding is now generally available. It came with a lot of updates. Again, SLA came out with that when you have general availability. So Azure is very similar with that. But it came with a series of improvements on conversational language understanding and is pretty cool. So that's it for clouds. Did I miss anything? Did you guys see something in the clouds that you thought was interesting? Let me know. All right. Alrighty, so let's jump into Kubernetes news. Kubernetes, CNCF, whatnot. So the CNCF released their annual report. I did a quick run through. Nothing really stood out as like mind-blowing in any regards. You can go ahead and read it. It has interesting things. It has some interesting statistics. So they go over their terminology here, like what a SIG is or a working group, blah 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 blah. Kept done. It has 10,000 new contributors this year. That's a staggering amount. They also had some stuff that they didn't actually back up with, like they didn't back up with real data. So like one of those things is I'll have to see if I can't find it really. Oh yeah. They say independent contributors play a critical role in the project. A misconception is that the project is just cloud providers maintaining it. However, one of our biggest contributor bases are independent, that is not affiliated with an organization. They give absolutely no stats. They say, like, of these independent contributors that are not affiliated with an organization, how many are there? How much of a contribution is that group? There could be half of them, but if that half is contributing less than a tenth of the code and the moderation that goes into it, then it doesn't really matter that half of the contributors, because not all contributors are the same. I take very much of a backseat in contributing to anything in Kubernetes because I try to make educational videos for them. And so yeah. So yeah, what does that mean? Are they counting my few documentation updates as independent contributor? Like, I'd need to see a lot more data here to prove this. They just state this. So that's kind of gonna be my general thing here. Yeah. I would have liked to see a little bit more data. They did link some of their data. I didn't spend hours digging through all of the data that they collected, so it's possible that they have the data on that and I just didn't see. I assume that because they didn't put any statistic there about it, that if 50% of the code that was committed was by people not related to a company, I feel like they would have made that statistic and they would have posted it there. The fact that they didn't put any statistic kind of makes me feel like it's not that great of one, or they couldn't manipulate in such a way to give their standing on it. So anyways, I don't know. Possibly it's fantastic. And I do think that it has a strong individual contributor. I don't necessarily agree that it's just the cloud, but I do believe that the clouds lead the majority of the core stuff that happens. If you're talking the outside fringe ecosystems, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're talking about the core Kubernetes project, I don't. I know a lot of the people that lead a lot of that, so I don't think so. All right. There was a couple blogs that were released. Local environment as code. Is it possible yet? This was an interesting article because it's talking about, we talk about infrastructure as code. We talk about all of these things, and this is kind of like, what about our local system, our local environment? So yeah, I think you should check this out. This goes over a lot of stuff. I haven't actually gone into each one. Like they talk about different IDEs. I usually use VS Code. It works well for everything. I still haven't been given access to the new IDE Fleet by what's that company's name? They make all the they make like Goland and all of those IDEs. Anyways, haven't been given access. I asked for it to be part of their private beta, but nope. Anyways, I guess they know that I speak my mind. Are they scared of that? Are they? I wonder. Let's see. So yeah, go check this out. I think that this this is a good blog post. So Jan Van Bergen. That's what I'm gonna call you. JetBrains. Thank you, Rubber Cable. You guys are fantastic. JetBrains. They have a new VS Code killer called Fleet, which I think is a dumb name because they should have looked to see if Fleet has another name in the industry, which it does. So don't call it Fleet. But they have a thing called Fleet, and it's supposed to be a VS Code killer. So JetBrains, thank you. Yeah, I sent them an email, was like, hey, love to be part of your private beta, love to make a video about it, give it a fair review. Like, I love to report on dev productivity tools, yeah, but haven't been a part of it. As soon as I am, I'll let you know. So anyways, this was cool blog post. I definitely think you should read it. Will be linked in the comments below. This was a Flux update. I know that I'm big onto Git-ops. I deal with a lot of people who are big onto Git-ops, so I've supported the Raw Code channel, which is a great channel. You should go check out. Raw Code Academy. And he does a lot with Git-ops. He actually has a fantastic talk on Git-ops, which I will actually link at the bottom of this. We actually need to do, that's David Flanagan. I don't think you watch this, but if you are watching, that's what we're going to have to do. Our collaboration is going to have to be like the ultimate Git-ops video. Like explain, because there's so much confusion around some of it and some of the principles. I think that's what we need to do. We need to do like the ultimate Git-ops video. I like it. I like that. I do most of my brainstorming on videos live on these streams. So if you're wanting to know what's coming in the pipelines, trust me, we have arguments on everything here, and this is giving me ideas. Clickbait ideas. Don't worry. Much clickbait. So anyways, I love Git-ops, and I actually like Flux. I don't use Flux because Flux is like Mercurial. Mercurial just works and just does its job, but it's also limited. So if you're on these fringe cases or want really powerful things like centralized management, Flux fails. Like, I can tell you that's why I don't use Flux. And the reason I don't use Flux is because I need to manage multiple Kubernetes clusters. And the way that I do that just cannot be done with Flux. You can actually give me 1 second. I can see. Let's see if I can't pull up that in Flux. I actually have a discussion with a person with Flux. I tried to make Flux work because I do like Flux because it's just simple and just works generally. Let me see if I can't. Oh man. Oh, is it capital? I wonder, do GitHub discussions fall off after a certain amount of time? It's not bringing up my discussion, or is the space wrong there? Ah, there we go. Space. There's not a space in my name. All right, so my bad. This is basically the statement of issue. You can read all of our back and forth. I finally made it work, but it was like through a hacky way. And their community is awesome. This guy responded to me and talked with me. There was quite a good discussion, which I was happy because I was kind of asking it to do something that it doesn't really support right out of the box. But anyways, if you want to know why I don't use Fleet, it's right here. It's right here. So, yep, it's well documented why I don't use Fleet. But I do like Fleet, and you should use it, and you should read this article if you're interested in using it. All right, best practices for deploying applications to production in Kubernetes. You know what? Honestly, I didn't actually read this, but it got posted on the CNCF blog. So I figure that the best practices have to be at least somewhat accurate. I generally try to read these. But I didn't get time, but it seemed like a good article because a lot of times it's hard to stay up on best practice. So again, this is CNCF sponsored blog on best practices. So I'd give it a read. I didn't get to it though. I generally try to. And that's it for our no, that's not it. That's not it. This was something that came out of the KubeCon, was trying to support CNCF providers. I actually kind of covered this a little bit with the networking stack. So yeah, this did come out as far as news, trying to make telcos adopt Kubernetes a little bit easier. So yeah. Yep. All right. How's everyone doing so far? Good? I hope you all are doing well. We have let's see. I have one thing, an Amazon engineer making a mistake. Some stuff on remote work. Oh, actually, you know what? This is something that should have been in the Kubernetes. I missed one thing in the Kubernetes, and then we'll go into. You know what? Let's actually go into after. We won't go into the just standard stuff. We're going to go into there's some interesting blockchain news. Don't leave hating me just yet. There's some blockchain news we'll talk about. Can we consider adding links to stream descriptions afterwards? I'm not sure what you're asking for, Rubber Cable. But we'll chat about it in the live stream. That's why it's there. We can chat about it. Yeah, cool. So there is a Discord chat if you want to have further chat and chat about things that happen live stream. And you don't want to put it in. Sometimes YouTube chat is really good for like, hey, I also had this problem, or something about the video that you want answered right then, and that's really cool. But if you're wanting to have a continued conversation, there is a Discord chat just for the live stream. So go for it, hit it up there, and we'll chat. All right, so let's talk about the one thing that I missed about Kubernetes news that I think is really good, or not really good, but really important. There is this company called Bitnami, or at least that's what I call them. I'm not actually I've never heard them pronounce their own name. Now, Bitnami has a lot of Helm charts, and I think a lot of people use Bitnami's Helm charts. And yeah, they have some CloudFront reaching some limits due to volume of traffic when serving index.yaml. This index contains all Bitnami Helm charts history, around 15,000 entries, producing a pretty fat 14 megabit file. Given the size of the file and the volume of traffic, thousands of terabytes of download traffic per month are being generated. Yeah, Bitnami is kind of the Jenkins 2.0 people. I usually spell Jenkins with an A, J-A-N-K. Yeah. Anyways, I'm a horrible person. I love everybody that worked on Jenkins. I love all of you engineers that worked on Jenkins or still do. Yeah. Anyways, I don't like Jenkins though. I'm not forced to like something. I think that it solved the problem a long time ago, and we just have better alternatives now. Anyways, so thousands of terabytes of download traffic per month are being generated. One of the alternatives considered was use of compression at CloudFront. In that case, this solution doesn't. Okay, so we don't have to read the whole thing, but what's happening is they're only keeping 6 months of their Helm charts. So if you're using an older chart from Bitnami, because they provide a lot of Helm charts, you're going to need to cache that yourself if you want to keep that older chart. They're not going to for you. So that was what they're doing. So it is only returning the index. So again, I guess to be clear, the Helm charts will still be there, but they won't be in the index.yaml. Used to list the Helm charts. So the zip files will still be there. So your CI/CD should still work and those types of things. Just the index YAML that's going to be used to list them isn't going to work anymore. So anyways, be cognizant of this if you use Bitnami. Yeah, just be cognizant of it. It's not a problem. It's just something you need to know about. All right, let's talk about blockchain. Dogecoin, the co-creator, says Web3 has zero value, warns NFTs are a way to get new suckers into crypto. So, I mean, if you didn't know, Dogecoin was obviously kind of there to make fun of cryptocurrencies. So, anyways, I'm glad he's actually taking a stance to step out. Now, I have mixed thoughts because there's actually some really cool uses to blockchain, and I'm going to get into that in some videos because blockchain is used by all developers most every single day. I think I've been convinced. This is an argument we had where I disagreed with the community at first, and I have come around and seen the light. Blockchain, not as we kind of think about it, but as it is used almost every single day by all developers. And it's cool. And it solves some problems. Also, people like Walmart and Amazon use blockchain in ways that you wouldn't imagine it. And IBM. That are really cool. But that's not what most people talk about. They're talking about these NFTs and these ways to scam people. That's the general way. And this is why there's always two sides of a coin. There are really cool things, and there's also ways that people scam people with really cool things. That being said, something really interesting happened with blockchain. Kelsey Hightower fantastic speaker. I wish that I could speak half as well as he does when I get up on stage. When I get up on stage, I see a bunch of people, and trust me, when I say a bunch of people, there's like 6 people, because only about 6 people come to see me speak. Kelsey Hightower speaks, it's like thousands of people, and he keeps it cool. I'm like sweating, and he delivers a fantastic speech. Anyways, really, really fantastic person to follow. I'm sure that all of you do. If you know who I am, you know who Kelsey Hightower is. He has been basically attacked. There was a letter sent to Congress. We covered this last week, basically with a bunch of tech people that said we're concerned with people getting scammed by crypto. And Kelsey Hightower is one of the people that signed this, and he literally got death threats because of it. This is not a good look for the people that say crypto is going to save the world. If you really think that it's going to save the world, if you think that that's what you're out there doing, that's probably not the stance. And obviously, this is not indicative of the entire community. You can have bad actors, but I've seen this type of behavior out of that community before, and like, so it's a shame that it has come to this. Yeah. And my last blockchain thing is kind of why I think blockchain as we know it is kind of oversold. Trustless evidence. Web3 is helping document war crimes in Ukraine. Read this whole thing and disagree with me. Read this whole thing. I don't know how Web3 or crypto is helping it. I don't know how a distributed server is helping document and war crimes. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that we have ways that are documenting war crimes, and those people should be prosecuted to the fullest extent. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying Web3 does nothing to help that. I'm saying there's not one thing in this article that conventional internet hasn't already solved in 1995. Not one piece. Again, read this. I'm going to drop this link. Read this and disagree with me. Point to a piece of it that cannot be done with Google, Gmail. That's what I'm asking. That is about it. All right, let's move on. This was a good blogging article. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to be wrong. I would love to expand my horizon of understanding, because when that happens, when you guys challenge me and I'm wrong, it's fantastic. I will come out here and say it. I was wrong about Git and it being a blockchain. I would say that my heart said yes, my mind says no, so I was like half right. But anyways, we can get back to. I love being wrong. I love it when you guys bring new ideas to me, and so maybe there's something I'm not seeing here, and if so, that's something we should focus on, because there's part of it maybe that is super useful. But I don't see how a distributed consensus layer, a trustless consensus layer, is really helping document war crimes. That's my problem. Now, again, love to be wrong. Love to be wrong. All right. So this was a really good GitLab article. Now, I would need to see more about this. I would need to see more for sure. We're splitting our database into main and CI. So basically, when you're running GitLab, there's 2 databases. There's a main and there's a CI database. And now this, to warn you, if you use GitLab and you haven't seen this, July 2nd, 2022, there will be 2 hours of downtime. And if I know anything about downtime windows, is they're they're made to be expanded. That's what downtime windows are. Downtime windows are made to be expanded. So 120 minutes, that is 2 hours last time I checked in UTC time. I guess in UTC time, in the 24-hour time scale, I don't know. I don't know what that's called. What's the 24 Earth Standard Time? I don't know. I'm going with Earth Standard Time. 120 minutes is 2 hours. Last time I checked in Earth Standard Time. EST? Is that EST? I told you, EST is the best time zone. Literally, EST, best time zone, because it also overlaps with Earth Standard Time. Okay, back to what's actually makes sense. Good blog article on how they sharded their database. So this is, they don't call it sharding their database, but that's what they're doing here. They're saying that, no, UTC doesn't exist. ETC best time zone. ETC. Because it also overlaps with Earth Standard Time. That's basically what ETC, where I live, my time zone, ETC, Earth Standard Time. Not Eastern Standard Time, please. Earth Standard Time. GMT without British summertime. So I actually like daylight savings time. I have a whole argument on why don't get me on tangents, but daylight saving time is actually a useful tool we shouldn't get rid of. I know that it's hard for small-minded people to comprehend that our time is all just relative to the Earth. And guess what? With our seasons, that relativeness is actually different when it's light out and when you don't have to spend extra energy with lights. So like it's saving the planet to have daylight savings time. It's ridiculous. We should keep daylight savings time. Anyways, I will not get on that. That's going to lose me subscribers. But this is a good blog article. Back to the blog article. Don't get me stuck on this. See, a distributed ledger being useful reporting news is immutable if there's not a 51% attack. It's not immutable. That's right. We can get into that. But there's also immutable. You don't need distributed to have an immutable ledger that you can prove is immutable as well. I mean, I guess that's what I don't understand. And again, let's have a conversation on this. We can have a conversation right now if you guys are all here ready to have a conversation on it. I haven't seen where a distributed, untrusted consensus ledger provides any more proof of not being tampered with than a distributed trusted consensus ledger. So by untrusted, I mean basically untrusted is the whole concept that anyone can join. Like that's what anyone can join and sign another token. And the way they protect against something like that is by the proof of work. You make it really hard so that you can't do a 51% attack. But I can have a distributed ledger. 51% attack would be very noticeable, but it's not impossible either. That's the problem. It's very much possible. But my problem is you're stating a thing that it could do. You're right, it could do it, but prove where another solution doesn't work better. Again, I don't know why we need random people with consensus on this. If you think that, we have things like end-to-end encryption where we can also improve that things weren't tampered with. So we already have this way of proving things aren't tampered with without a distributed ledger. I guess that's my issue here. What does the distributed ledger get us? It doesn't get us proof that it wasn't tampered with. As long as there wasn't 51%, you can prove that it wasn't tampered with. Again, as long as there wasn't a 51% attack. By authority of free market of trust. Right, but what if I could store every tweet in S3, not distributed, but prove that I didn't tamper with them. If you can do that, then I'm not sure what the distributed blockchain actually provides you. I guess is my question. The other thing that happens, and this is a big deal, is that the back end is distributed. So, but what you report your news on, that app, isn't distributed. It's a single thing. It's like the NFT marketplaces. So you're not using it as a server. Your phone isn't part of that server backend, and it's not partaking in it. You're actually using a centralized application that uses the distributed. So there's still actually this entry point. It's almost like the Tor network problem. As long as you enter the Tor network on a trusted node that doesn't keep logs, it's good. But if you don't, then, you know, whoever owns that node knows exactly where you're going. It's the same concept. And with these distributed apps, the apps themselves are a centralized location into that network. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I wouldn't trust any, but I wouldn't trust the individuals either. Individuals lie just as much as the governments and the big businesses and all of them. I mean, that's the whole problem. If people were honest and truthful, so would the governments and the businesses. People think like it's a business problem. It's not that businesses have it's the people that run them that have the same problem. If the people that ran them with integrity, then you wouldn't have this problem, but they don't, because people don't have integrity. So I don't know. I don't know that I trust people. But the blockchain has the same entry point problem. Now, if you were running the Bitcoin network on your phone here, it would be great. But end users don't want that. They don't want to own their servers. I've never seen an end user who also wants to own their own server. And you can do that anyways if you wanted to. Go to DigitalOcean, $4, reduced price, half of what you got for their $5, but it's $1 cheaper, not half the cheaper. But anyways, this is where I just don't understand what problem it's actually solving. And I do understand what problem they're solving with it, but how it does it better than another service that I already did, or another service. That's an interesting thing that we should do as a video, though, is to prove something wasn't tampered with. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of technologies that do that. I mean, TLS certificates prove that your request wasn't tampered with. That's like literally that you're hitting the server that you thought you were hitting. Like, that's what we're doing there. So there's a lot of technologies that don't require distributed consensus. I just don't understand the distributed untrusted consensus. Again, that's where, like, I don't know why that's solving the problem. Rubber Cable, I would disagree. They don't need to learn to use microservices to pack identities to 51%. They don't. They don't. Let me try to pull up this stack. And the reason I say they don't. Let me see if I can't pull up this this stat here. The reason they don't need to do that is because they have just enough servers. Like, they don't need to do that. I don't think that there's that many voting nodes. One second. I have this link saved. I just have to log into a place that has it. really quickly. It's only like, I want to say it's only like 8,000 voting nodes. Let's see. Blockchain part 1. Let me see. Let me see. I know that I have this somewhere. I have this link and I need to find it. And I can't find it. I cannot find how many voting voting nodes Ethereum has. I know I have it somewhere. But you know what? I will pull it up for next week. Next week we'll have a discussion on the number of voting nodes. Oh wait. Here we go. I found it. Let's see. And I'm gonna pull up some other information really quickly. This is all going into. This was going to be my really big one. All right, so here we go. This is basically talking about how many servers that Google owns, how many servers they have. And back in 2015, their largest data center had 1 million, but they were building a lot of smaller data centers. They weren't doing the 1 million machines in a data center. I have other links for my video about how many data centers that Microsoft has, what the average size of them are, and then I have these calculators out there to calculate roughly average about how many servers could be in that size, considering that a data center goes to about 70% capacity. So we can go into 70% is for servers, then there's like 20% for switches, and then like 10% is for like personnel. Again, I have that so we can all break that down, and then we can look at how many total there are. There's 5,000 voting known in the main net. 5,000 clients. So you're wanting to do a 51% attack. I can tell you individuals who can 51% attack this. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are not the two people in the world that can 51% attack this. I actually thought it was around 8,000. I wonder if it's gone down. This is horrifying. And we're talking about Ethereum, one of the larger networks. So anyways, this is why I don't know that. Yeah. Anyways. I would, Russell. I would. So Russell says, do you think more people would run their own servers if it was just for news and true freedom of the press rather than for storing URLs to PNGs and transactions for hundreds of scam coins? Now, I don't think the standard person is. The standard person doesn't want to run their own server. That's the problem. You and I do. Us techies do. They want a centralized point, which again, then causes the problem. What centralized point are they accessing that network from? What centralized app are they accessing that? That centralized app can change that data however they want. They can store it however they want. Like, Are you saying that the standard person would host it themselves so that they can access it without that? I don't think so. And it's not profitable either. You couldn't sell a token for it. And that's the thing. We need to get rid of tokens on the blockchain, or else the blockchain can't work. Because as long as people focus on tokens and making money off of it, then it's just going to be scam artist after scam artist. You can run a blockchain. IBM has this. IBM has a blockchain that has no token because you don't need a token for it. The whole concept of a token is for digital currency. Now, if you're saying, would I run a server to support freedom of the press? Absolutely. But the thing is, the press already have that freedom. They just do a bad job of it. You're not fixing the problem. The Washington Post or CNN or Fox have the freedom. They do a bad job of it. Now, if you're talking about somebody like me, well, sure, I can go post my stuff wherever I want on the web. So I'm also free. I still don't know where this is solving it. I can make a WordPress site in 3 clicks of a button and post whatever crap that I want to post. It doesn't make that crap true, and it doesn't solve the freedom of the press issue. You think that blockchain is solving the freedom of the press in China? No, they're still pressed the crap out of. I don't think that it's solving anything. Wikimedia. You know, I'm happy to be wrong. So this is why I still have this conversation, because I would hate to be the person who completely discounts something because they're looking at it from the wrong angle. I do really struggle with this one. And you're talking to an avid person of blockchain in the early days. Because I thought that, it was this newish thing or a new way of looking at things. And I really do think that it has some really cool uses. We just have to be very specific with them. Russell, but so can your blockchain app, your centralized application. It can be taken down. I mean, you don't believe me. NFTs. I showed you a post last time. Literally took down the NFT for breaking its policies. Because it's a centralized access point. So prove to me that it can't be taken down. Again, in China, still being censored. Prove to me that it can't be, and then I'll believe you. Prove to me that you can put it out there and it's impossible for somebody else to limit. That is a user, not a server hoster. Sure, if you're part of the actual network, but people aren't accessing Bitcoin or Ethereum. As we've seen, there's a lot more people that own Ethereum tokens than are actually participating in the network. 5,000-6,000 people? Really? And that's not even 5,000 or 6,000 people. That's 5,000 or 6,000 nodes. Are they actually distributed? I don't know. I don't know. I don't sit here and claim to also be an expert. So if you're going to attack me for not being an expert, didn't claim to. I have thought through the problem. I do like some of the blockchain technologies. I can probably talk about proof of stake versus proof of work versus some of the other more unique ones, which I actually like more than proof of stake or proof of work. The distributed proof of stake is a pretty good one. But I can talk about consensus and all of those. I'm a pretty big nerd on consensus. But again, I wouldn't consider myself an expert. So Russell, we could talk about this. I still don't think that you solve the entry point problem. I don't think that you solve that, because however you access that blockchain, whichever app that you use is going to filter that. And maybe there's a way to solve that. If we can solve that, that would be really cool. And I like that. You could even have a token. I'm not even sure that the token is. I think there's too much emphasis on the token, but you could leave a token and get paid. So like the people reporting could get paid somehow. I'm not sure that you need a token though, even to do that. It's almost like those centralized portals that you access it through, could charge a fee, and they could, pay that out to the people that are actually doing it. But again, this is where like I don't know that the thing that we'd have to solve is we'd have to solve the centralized portal. You have to solve that so that there was no centralized portal without running your own node. Because again, I don't see the average newsreader running their own server. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I will say it again, I don't see users running their own servers. Running your own servers is hard. I'm about to do a home data center, and the amount of work that's going into that for just a stupid home lab is insane. All right, I'm going to move on before I lose more subscribers, because that's what my newest videos are doing. Although they have higher retention, people watch them longer and then unsubscribe. So that's actually, I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. Not sure. It used to be that I'd get subscribers, but they'd only watch for like 2 minutes. I don't know how this works. Now they watch for a long time, then unsubscribe. It's amazing. I'm very good at this YouTube thing. All right, the risks of shadow code. I like this. I think shadow code is too much of a buzzword. Basically, it's you don't know what's in your application and in your supply chains. So basically, this is talking about your supply chain and your pipelines with shadow code. It's not an easy problem to solve, Russell. And this is why just saying blockchain solves it is a bad way to go, and is just a way that the Ethereum founder wants to go with, is blockchain solves everything, because it sells you more of his coin and it gets more things on his coin, which he owns a lot of, and that's what it wants. But the problem is these problems are hard. These problems are difficult, and if they were easy to solve, we would have solved them a long time ago. But they're not easy to solve. They're just not easy to solve. So yeah. All right, the risk of shadow code. So yeah, kind of buzzword, but it was fairly. It brings up good concepts. They're talking about what code do you use in your CI/CD pipeline. Honestly, we kind of ignore what code is in our CI/CD pipeline to a certain extent. We have stuff for it, but like what the code that checks that your code's pipeline is secure, is that secure? It's almost like this inception thing. Like we use code to check that our code's pipeline is secure, but how does that code's pipeline be secure? We tend to use the same tools, same code to check that code is secure as well, but like it's an actual problem, and you just need to be conscious of it. So definitely a good read, and it's good just to bring up. It's like fishing. You can never bring up fishing enough, because it happens to the best of us. They're really good at sending you things that you think you should click on. They're really good at it. And so you should bring up phishing all the time, because even the best of us can fall prey to it. Actually, like 2 weeks ago, I was really happy Kelsey Howtire released a report on how he almost fell victim to a phishing attack. He got attacked because they're like, oh, you shouldn't have been. And that was really dumb because we need leaders to actually state that they're human and could fall prey to these types of things because they can and they do, because their phishers are pretty good. All right. Let's talk a little bit about remote work because we all like remote work. Remote work may not be working anymore. I have news for you. Remote work never worked. Remote work never worked. People don't try to do remote work well. I'm being serious. Okay, I'm talking generally too. I'm not saying that you don't. I know that you do, but everyone else doesn't. And I know that yeah, anyways, everybody else doesn't. And I just mean it in general. In general, people don't do remote work well. I'll tell you a lot of travesties. If you're on a remote team and there's a few people that are in the office and a few people that are remote, everyone's remote. You don't have the few people that are in the office go to a conference room because you can't see the body language. They talk across the table instead of into their camera to you. You know, would you like me to be talking to you like this? Because I could talk to you guys on stream like this. And this is what you get a lot of remote work because there's a few people that are in a conference room. And, oh, even better yet, they're usually far away from the microphone. So it sounds more like this, that you can barely hear while they're talking to another person over here. And that person over there that you can't see is doing some like gestures or like eyebrow things, and you just cannot see it, and it's dumb. Okay? That's first problem. Second problem. When you're remote work, you have to do team building. You don't go out to lunch, do you? You don't go out to lunch with your team. All right? So that means you need to once every other week spend an hour playing a game like Among Us with your team. It means there's a bunch of little team games like that that are fun, goofy, and spend the freaking time to do it with your teammates. Because that's what you need to do. You need to build that bond that you're not doing. Another thing that you need to do, you need to have office hours. You can't just swing around to somebody's desk and see if they're there to talk to them. But what you can do is set up office hours where you make yourself available. Where you sit there and you say, well, yeah, I'm joining this chat. If somebody wants to come talk to me, you can. Nobody has to. It's just time that you're available for people. You need to be, if you're going to do remote work, you need to do remote work. So Rubber Cable, I might agree, but how can we be sure this isn't a bias? I do think it's a biased. Very much so. I also agree with this, but it is apparent that Zoom and Google Chats aren't substitutes for in-person dynamics that bridge communication gaps and help build careers. I also agree with this. I think that this is important that if you are doing remote work, guess what? Your company isn't spending a bunch on your office space. They spend a lot of money on that. They need to make sure that at least once a year, you're meeting each other in person. At least once a year. I would recommend at least twice a year. I think that's the best way to do it. Twice a year. It's expensive. You fly everybody, to a place and you pay for their hotels, and you're going to spend, a couple grand per person. You're going to spend, I'm going to say $4,000 per person per remote employee. You need to do that. Hey, we get together for a week in a hotel, and we do some hacking and we work on a project together or whatnot. Again, if remote work is going to work, you can't just treat it like it's in-person work. That's what people do, is they treat remote work like in-person, and it's not. You need to build those bonds. You need to have those conversations with people. This is why I stay and talk to people. I will have chats. We'll have chats like we were at lunch. Like you have those one-on-ones with people and do those things. What remote work needs is you need to be very, I want to say determined, but very purposeful. You need to be very purposeful. You can't just haphazardly do remote. It won't work. I agree. If you want to do remote, you need to be purposeful in doing remote because it just doesn't work the same. That being said, I honestly think that remote work works. I do, if you're going to actually do it. I get very excited about this because I think remote work can work very well. You just need to really have a management that is going to support that. You need to have if your team, if you have remote workers and in-office workers, you have to treat the in-office workers just like your remote workers, and you have to do it the same, and that sucks, but that's what you have to do. It's very deliberate. Thank you, Rubber Cable. That is what I want. You have to be very deliberate about remote work. If you're not, it's the worst. It's absolutely the worst. I've been there, done that, and it was the worst. I've also had remote work really, really well. It's just very deliberate, and it has to be. It has to be deliberate, or else it falls apart. That being said, one thing that you can do is an engineer is suing Amazon for not covering work from home, internet, and electricity bills. I think electricity would be really hard to state, and I doubt I spend that much more electricity than I would just staying at home anyways, so I feel like this is an overreach. The internet, I think that they should supply. I think they should, but my thing is, Amazon's letting you work from home. If they say, well, you can work from home, but you pay for your own internet, well, you could just go into the office. I mean, they could mandate that. They could be Elon Musk and just mandate that you go into the office. So this is a great way to get you mandated coming back into the office. So anyways, now I think you should cover their internet. I know that I cover my workers' internet, or our company does. So I'm not saying that Amazon shouldn't do this, but you might not get what you want. Oh, true. I guess if he's running his own servers, like if Amazon is asking him to run his own rack, yeah, his electricity bill's out the roof. I doubt Amazon is asking him to do that. I feel like he has his like really high efficiency MacBook, like my MacBook Pro, that like if it actually works properly only uses like 3 watts because it barely works. So like yeah, it's nothing. So yeah. Anyways, let me hurry up through this. You guys got me on tangents a whole bunch, so there's going to be a bunch of null bytes coming, but Advanced Quantum Computer made available to public for the first time. Interesting read. So we'll see. I still have like 2025 as my like, really there's probably nothing to do with quantum computers until at least then, and that's me being hopeful. But yep. Well, commercially. I'm not saying the military or the NSA, but military. Google bans deepfake generation AI from Colab. So basically the most useful aspect of Colab is now ruined. I don't know what else you do with it. That's like literally the only thing I've ever used it for was deepfakes. So there we go. This was interesting. HP and System76 partner to release a high-end Linux laptop. I don't understand this. System76 makes high-end Linux laptops. Why did they need to partner with HP? I don't quite get it, except maybe like the publicity for them. That's what I was going to say, Rubber Cable, that's what the NSA is going to do with the Advanced Quantum Computer made available to the public for the first time. That's straight up what the NSA is doing right now. 100%. You thought you were safe on Tor. Ha. Ha ha. Anyways. The NSA is scary. HP and I love you, NSA. Please don't hurt me. The HP and System 76 partner to release. I don't quite understand this, so I'm interested. I'm interested. I love that HP, not my favorite laptop maker by all means, is looking to support the Linux in the ecosystem here. So this is really cool. Oh, the production line. That's a good take, Rubber Cable. Okay, yeah, I get it. System 76 laptops don't have the best production line. Especially if I would say like they're not a mass-produced laptop. I don't know, maybe they are, but I doubt that many people have a System 76. I tend to find they're more expensive for what you get. Like I get my Lenovo P1s on sale and they're thin, they're powerful. The System 76 are a little chunkier. My next laptop is probably going to be a System 76. I really like them and I want to support that work. So, okay. Um, yeah, I was gonna say it's just Pop OS, but it's also using like their open source hardware specification. So like it's going to be all open source hardware, or firmware at least. I believe as far as what I was looking through getting this. But yeah, by early June. I actually prefer Ubuntu straight than Pop OS. Nothing bad about Pop OS. Um, it's just different, and most people support Ubuntu. So, anyways, all right, Connect, a better gRPC. This was an interesting thought exercise because when I first thought about it, when I first read the article, I was like, why recreate gRPC? They have valid points that I don't struggle with as much in microservices. So like, one of their things is that like gRPC isn't Simver, and thus it makes breaking changes all the time, and it should be Simver. Yeah, it doesn't follow semantic versioning. If you guys don't know what semantic versioning is, leave me a comment and I'll make a video on that. That's an easy one. I'll make a video on that one. Let's just do that. I'll make these easy. I need to make some intro beginner level ones. Simver is a great one to go talk about. Anyways, it doesn't follow semantic versioning, and they have some fairly good things that me as a microservice engineer didn't hurt as much as people like they used Raft. Really does get hurt by it. So Raft or etcd. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm not saying that I'm jumping on to Connect versus gRPC. Not saying that I'm doing that, but it's definitely interesting. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes open on it. France officially bans English gaming terms like esports and streaming. So I also am waiting for them to ban like English tech jargon as well. That's fantastic. It makes everything better. Oh, this should have been in security. This should have been in secure. I'm not a very good YouTuber, not a very good streamer. I suck at this. Yeah. So there was in Germany there was a payment meltdown based off of an expired certificate. So this was fantastic. Definitely worth a read. I'm going to say that if you've been in this industry for more than 20 years, you've probably had this problem. You've probably been hit with this problem. I don't know. I feel like expired certificates are more common than not that they accidentally. This is why automatic cert rotation is so important. But yeah. AWS contributes a novel causal machine learning algorithm to do-why Python libraries. Don't really know what this is. Maybe this should have been in in the AWS section, I don't really know what it is. I'm learning machine learning like I'm learning hacking, which means I suck at it. So I don't really know what this novel causal machine. I know what causal machine learning is, but I don't know what was so novel about this. So, anyways, all right, and that's it. That's it. Now we're on to our open source projects, and we've talked about Git-ops, and I don't think that I've shared with you guys my favorite Git-ops. So that's what we're doing right now. So we're going to share my 3 favorite GitOps technologies, and we're going to look around them a little bit. Flux is my really, it's my number 3 favorite. I actually really like Flux too. I really think Flux is useful and works well. So when I say it's my number 3 favorite, this is not me discounting it. I think it's really great, especially if you're a small team and just want simplicity for a single Kubernetes cluster. It's super nice. So you can go check out Flux. Specifically Flux 2. Flux 1, not so much. Flux 2, yes. So yeah, go check it out and see how it can be useful. My number 2 favorite is Argo CD. It's probably the de facto standard out there, and it's really quite fantastic. I really like it. It has a really nice UI if you're into that type of thing and are managing it at a large company-wide. I definitely think you should check out Argo CD. And again, it's kind of the de facto standard. And if you're doing multi-cluster, it has some really useful tools for you. So go ahead, check out Argo CD. The Argo project has a ton of stuff, including Argo workflows, which Argo CD uses Argo workflows, but Argo workflows is a standalone thing. You can actually use Argo workflow because it's a workflow running engine, kind of like Netflix's Confluent Conductor. Netflix released Conductor, another great workflow. Maybe next week we'll do workflow engines. Maybe we'll do that. Anyways, Argo CD uses Argo workflows, and it's really quite fantastic. But you can use Argo workflows standalone. In fact, I do. Anyways, super cool. And let's talk about my number 1 favorite, Fleet. Now, some of you might say, well, Merrick, that's because you're biased because you used to work for SUSE and then very little bit on the Rancher stuff. And it is absolutely not. You ask me what my favorite Kubernetes platform is, and it won't be Rancher. I'm very straight with you guys for the most part. And I am usually very straight with you when I am biased, like what the best database is, which is Aerospike, obviously. But when it comes to sheer power and how people are actually using Kubernetes, that's what Fleet does. Fleet does GitOps like people actually use Kubernetes. It turns out that having these pet Kubernetes clusters is a bad idea because Kubernetes clusters, as clustered has shown us, are fickle and they tend to not be great. And we tend to use a lot of Kubernetes cluster. I don't know many people that run just one Kubernetes cluster. Fleet allows me, now Fleet is probably the newest and the least well-defined or well-refined, and so it's a little bit the buggiest. But as far as how it does things, it's how I want a GitOps to work. It is super powerful that way. And I really think that the premise is the best. Now, again, it's a little bit more buggy than the others. Like I said, I'm pretty straight with you guys on what my biases is and whatnot. I do really like Fleet. And I really hope to see it become really, really popular because I want to see its continued development to become really, really awesome. Because for me, it's how I think of GitOps at scale. It's really the at scale part. So yeah. So yeah, that's those are my 3 favorite GitOps. There's other means of GitOps. Wait 1 second. Was I not showing you Fleet? This is Fleet, by the way. Their documentation is yeah, like, okay, click on their quick start. Let's see if they've updated this. They updated it. So at the 3.8 release, these actually pointed to 3.2, and it was not great. Okay, but so this is Rancher Fleet. You should definitely check it out if you're looking into Git-ops. Yeah, anyways, I do love Rancher Fleet. I think it's fantastic. It looks at it completely different than any of the others, with cluster bundles and cluster groups, and allowing you to manage lots of clusters and lots of similar clusters in a really slick way. Really absolutely love it. All right. Well, that's it for me today. If you guys had something you want to share, remember, last one to be up next week. As soon as it's done, it's going into unlisted mode, and you'll have to go to my news playlist, which is on the channel, so you can go ahead and just find it there. And I will be posting little bites from this throughout this week. Hopefully one on Tuesday and one on Thursday and maybe one on Saturday. I think that's going to try to be my Candace. No promises there, though. And we'll see how those go. And I'll link to that channel in the description of this one as well, sometime a little bit later today. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining. Thanks for your comments and your support. I really appreciate all the support I have. A lot of you are really fantastic and have really supported me in continuing on bringing you guys this news and this commentary. And yeah, I will